Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Mr. GoodBuds. We back again with Q&A in the garden. You already know what we do here. If you can go over to Discord right now, hop in the Q&A channel and ask questions, and I'll try my best to answer them. Before we get started, I always like to let y'all know what we working with, and it has changed up a little bit. So first, we got the 3x3, formerly known as the Auto Booth or the Breeder's Booth or the Flowers Booth or whatever booth I wanted to be at the time. We right now running the Mars Hydro FC3000, and in the middle, of course, we got the Veg Booth. It doesn't change much. 4x4 by Mars Hydro with a TSW2000, and then over here on the right side of me, we got the 4x4, which is the Photo Booth, my favorite booth. And right now, it's rocking at Mars Hydro FCE 6500. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Before we get started, if y'all know how to submit y'all questions, make sure y'all hop in the description below and click on Discord. Go over to Discord, drop your questions in the channel. You can always join Discord anytime, whenever you want. And there's an open invitation in the description at all times, every video. Before we get started, just a quick word from Mars Hydro. What's the deal? This your boy Mr. GoodBuds, letting y'all know to make sure that y'all go holler at Mars Hydro, man, for all y'all grow needs. They have the greatest bar style lights, they have quantum board style lights, and they have all new size tents that you can get a 5x5 in a regular size room, man. They have everything you need to get your growing setup going, including inline fans and lots of other things to get your setup perfect in the way you need. Make sure you go over, for me right now, make sure y'all stop going to Amazon and y'all start using the Mars Hydro store, and then make sure y'all type in the code GoodBuds, man. Mars Hydro has a beautiful store where everything is very available for everybody, and the links are in the description down below. So make sure y'all go there, use the code GoodBuds, and get your growth started off right, man. On me. All right, so we back with it. So question number one. So we got from Jay Dunk. He asks, can you tell us what happened with your nutrient experience, why you switched and then went back to Roots Organic? Also, when you ran Roots Organic, did you follow the feeding amendments or schedule, I guess you meant to say, or have to adjust due to tip burn, etc.? Thank you. Actually, now I switched because I feel like you have to use the entire lineup and all the amendments, using the amendments and the liquid nutrients. But on top of that, I switched because it was too much. It took too long to mix them all together. The experience with them, they worked good all together in conjunction with each other. They worked real well. Did it take me hours to water my plants every day? Yes, it did. I didn't go back because I wanted to. I went back just once because I still had some and I couldn't get my dry amendments, and I didn't have everything I needed. I didn't have the entire lineup, and it was not good. It didn't go so well. I had a lot of deficiencies. But when you have, to answer your last question, I had slight tip burn sometimes, but it didn't really it seemed like really with the autoflowers always was tip burn. The photo periods didn't have an issue with it ever. But I think that's more of an autoflower thing more than Roots Organic and the nutrients themselves. Next question from J Live Nunu. Does your weed ever lose smell during dry? My wedding cake auto from Barney's Farm really not getting that skunky smell at all. It was smelling nice before chop, but after the smell kind of faded, I also went and bought a vacuum seal like you said. My drying environment is 65 degrees and 66% humidity. It's slowly getting sweet though, but not gassy yet. It's only been a week though. Also, I'm using an inline fan from VivoSun and carbon filter, and I'm not really sure where to keep the dial turned to, whether it's low, medium, or high. But wow, that's a lot of questions in one. But could this affect my terpenes if I'm using a carbon filter, period, especially keeping it on high? Well, let's answer that now. No, it doesn't. It doesn't affect your terpenes. I'm in a 27 by 27, so what's that, a 2.5 by 2.5? By 36 with 3 by 2, or you got some weird size tents, both with 4-inch inline setup. Temps and humidity are from 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. And you said, oh, the tent's inside. Oh, inside the tent. So one thing, man, when you go from the tent to the dryer, you do lose a lot of smell. It does smell. The smell does go away a big difference. Now, if you were asking me, did you lose your smell? I'm not sure if you're saying you lost the smell or you just feel like it dialed down a lot. I always notice that all my notice that everything that I grow always loses. It always smells a little less while it's drying. Drying in general, you lose a lot of the terpene profile, or the terpene profile becomes real. The difference is the plant is saturated with water before, whereas it's dry afterwards. So when it's wet, everything is gonna have a stronger smell while it's wet than when it's dry. So if that's what you're saying, that's normal. Now, if you losing the smell completely, that could be from over drying, and if you're getting that hay smell, that could be over drying, which happens. You just gotta watch from over drying, which is, and I believe you're saying it's 80 degrees in veg throughout late flower. So the humidity and everything sounds good. Everything is fine, except for 75 to 80 degrees is actually good. That's good for flower. 55 to 40 at the end of flower, that's good. That's a little low for veg, but like, we don't really worry about veg too much. I don't, at least. But all that stuff sounds good. I sound like, to me, you're just saying that you feel like it's less than what it was, which is normal. I always notice that. But after you get it done, after it gets done drying, there's another thing that it does when it dries. It loses the smell and then it comes back at the end of the dry. When it's done drying, for some reason, it seems like the smell gets stronger again. And when you put it in jars and you trimming it, it gets stronger. Like the smell comes back. So it definitely goes through that, and that's just the drying phase. Now, if you're getting that hay smell, it's definitely because it's too hot, or you're drying for too long, or the humidity is too high. But from what you said, now the humidity at 65 is cool. I like it around 55ish. It may take really long to dry. But that's cool though. None of that stuff. The longer the dry should make your terpene profile better. So I hope I answered that question. And if not, message me again. Next question. From KSOP22. Have you noticed a correlation between flower times and effects? We've all heard that the longer you keep a plant in flower, the more amber trichomes and CBN is produced, which makes you sleepier. However, I usually don't see an increase in sleepiness, but more an increase in body high and slower thoughts. Yeah, I definitely noticed it. I've only done a couple of plants that went a really long time with flower, and both of them seemed to put me to sleep and gave me a more of a body high. The thing is, they all affect people differently. So you may not get sleepy and other people will get sleepy. Everybody's affected by these chemicals in different ways. Chemicals, terpenes, cannabinoids, all those things affect people in different ways. So you may not get sleepy. But if you notice in a more of a body and more of a slower thoughts, then I would say that's the difference in it for you. I definitely notice sleepiness, especially when my thoughts get slow like that. I get sleepy, so definitely. Next question, from KSOP22. Have you noticed a difference in quality between outdoor and indoor plants? My outdoors are always so healthy, but for some reason the indoor give me better structure, less leaf, more density, etc. Man, that is absolutely true. And I've only done one outdoor run. And honestly, that is absolutely true. I have noticed the exact same thing. And I think that's what it is. Outside, they are tremendously healthy. Like, everything is abundant and available for these plants outside. And they don't have any type of deficiency. I noticed the exact same thing. But I did notice a structure difference as well, in density. With the OG, and it was definitely less dense, and I know, and I had seeds, so I feel like it was because there's a lot of people doing the same thing that we doing now, and we gonna get pollinated, and that affects density as well. When you start producing seeds, then they stop putting on weight and start making seeds. So if you know the seeds in it, then I think that's what it was. Just the fact that some of it gets pollinated completely changes it from how it is indoors. When indoors, it ain't gonna be no pollination unless we want it. So we get maximum everything, density, yield, and everything, because it never stops. It's never ever gonna stop. You feel me? So yeah, definitely, that was a good ass question. Next question from Slim Cola 81. Is it really necessary to pH the water during the 2-week flush before harvest? Wouldn't a lockout be beneficial during the flush? That's a good ass question. And the answer is, you ask, is it really necessary? No, it is not. It is not necessary. You're not going to get a lockout that fast. It takes longer time to get a lockout. But it is not necessary to pH the water during that time. I don't. And honestly, I never pH my water because it's always the same. And I use my tap water. So I never pH the water. I never even worry about that. But what you're asking me is, do you have to worry about it during the flush? No, you don't. Some people may say you do. Some people, it depends on what you looking for. If you feel like your plant is good to go where it's at, and you got the last 2 weeks of flush, then no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. When you flushing, regardless of the water being pH or not, it's still gonna flush out the pot, and so a lot of nutrients are gonna go out the drain, which is the main point of flushing. Now, if you feel like your plant needs that 2 week of development, then, and you care about pHing, and you know your pH can be off or have major swings, then yes, because another part of flushing is the plant depleting the rest of the nutrients available to it. Now, it does deplete nutrients from within itself and from within the pot. So if you wanted to get its last nutrients in, and which it still flushes because it's getting less and less and less, that amount of nutrients getting is more diluted and more diluted the longer that 2 week expands. And by the end of the 2 weeks, theoretically, there should be no nutrients left. If you feel like your plant needs it, then continue pHing. Really, you're not really going to get a lockout that fast. You may get a lockout within a week or so, but that's no time to really do any damage for real. So at the end of the day, I don't think it matters at all. Now, I could be wrong about that, so comment down below. But that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. Next question. From 2 Live, Nunu again. Do you ever get soil mites while growing indoors during the grow? If so, how do you prevent them, and where do they come from? Them bitches come from inside them bags of soil, bro. The soil come with them bitches. If you talking about those little white mites, yes, I do be seeing them bitches, and they come in the soil. Next time you buy your soil, wherever you get it from, open that bitch up right there at the store, and you gonna see them in there. They in there. These are non-predatorial mites. They don't do anything. They do stress some people out, but they don't do shit. In fact, they're non-predatorial mites to your plants, but they're predatorial mites to other mites and other insects. So they actually kind of help. Me, I don't like them bitches at all. I don't like no type of, unless I control it. I like control in my garden. You know what I'm saying? Astaghfirullah, I don't mean to make it sound like that, but I like controlling my garden. And so, if I don't want unknown mites in my garden, so neem oil works great for that. The pure neem oil cold press, that shit works on everything, like hot sauce, baby. That shit works on there. I put that shit on everything. You could use it as a foliar spray. You could use it as a soil drench. You could do whatever you want with it, baby, and it's gonna work. Yeah, they come from the soil, man. That shit crazy. Next question. K-Side, man, y'all held it down, man. Y'all asked all the questions. I need everybody else to get out there and ask some questions, man. What are your tips for getting rid of the hay/musty smell from the weed? I noticed that especially when trying to cure large amounts in jars, that bud isn't really extra moist. I keep it between 58 and 64 RH. Do you think vacuum sealing will help the smell, or should I dump the bud on the counter to dry a little more and then rehydrate with humidity packs? Okay, usually that smell comes from, okay, it could come from more than one. It could come from being too moist. But if you having that problem and it's too moist, then you need to put no humidity packs at all. Fuck them humidity packs. Now, if it's too moist, if you feel like if you put it in the jar and you thought it was dry and it just got super moist and squishy within like an hour or so, it was too moist still and it wasn't dry all the way, then take it out, put it on spread it out evenly, hopefully on like a sifting tray or a sifting screen or the trim bin or something like that. That's what I use. And then let it dry out and let it sit out for like 24 hours. Let it get dry. And usually that hay smell though usually comes from over drying. And which at that point you can't do shit about that, dog. It's over at that point. I'm not saying throw your out. You still smoke it. I smoked it. I still consumed it all, but it's no getting this smell back. So if that's what you're saying, if it's a too dry problem, there's no getting it back. If it's too moist problem, and that's what you smelling, because the hay and the musty smell is different. The musty is the moist. The hay is the dry. So if I'm thinking of it correctly, then yeah, it is what it is. Perk 30. Next question. For curing purposes, recently started vacuum sealing my harvest, and I'm really enjoying the bag appeal so far. Doesn't matter if I seal literally right after the trim, or should I wait some after a few burpings? Yeah, I always say wait that week. You still want to make sure that you draw out, because you don't want to trap no chlorophyll in there. Like that gas, the chlorophyll gas smell, I feel like, I haven't done it, but I feel like if you just go straight from the branch into the vat, then you probably gonna ruin it. It's gonna smell like hay. And so you need to get that burping in so you get rid of most of that chlorophyll, which happens in that week. Once you get rid of most of that gaseous chlorophyll, then that's when I do it. And sometimes it could still be a little too moist at that point for the crushing of the sealer. So that's another thing. I like it in the jar. It tightens up even more and makes it more structurally sound. So once I get to squishing it with that vacuum sealer, it doesn't just turn into a pancake. So yeah, definitely give it that week. Next question. What are your favorite genetics and breeders? I can't even honestly lie and answer that question because I've only really been using Canuck seeds for real. Like every grow I've done has been Canuck. They got some really nice stuff. I use a little bit of Mephisto. I think I did. I don't know. I might have. I know I use Dutch Passion, and I know I use Chef Ann. And I know I use a little bit of I love the I did really like 2 out of 10. 2 out of 3 I did really like the runts from Bay Area. But I couldn't really answer that question. I only had one thing from ILGM. It turned out terrible. Then we did, what's the other company? I do like Barney's Farms. I like Barney's Farms just from the 2 out of 3 or 1 out of whatever the hell I used. It was really good. So I hope that answers your question because I can't even really answer that. But we had a few good strains. My 2 favorite strains come from 2 different companies, Bay Area and Canuck. So. And Bay Area, the runs is, I don't want to say it's better than the OG. It's all a preference. And then I haven't had the success with the dry like I did with the run, so we don't know. We got to do another OG run. All right, bro. This nigga then went on here answering every question, dog. What the fuck? Don Innovations, bro. Dog, y'all gotta stop answering the questions, bro. Why you go through here and answer all questions like this, dog? Why you do that, bro? What made you think that they was asking you all the questions? Like, what the? No, he sat here and answered like 4 or 5 questions. Like, no, bro. No. No. What the fuck, bro? This shit crazy. That shit's so confusing. All right, last question. No, he said, man, he went through and was like, I'm about to answer all that. He went through and answered like 7 questions though. Like, he had the answers though. I didn't even read what he. I didn't even read his replies. It's already too confusing. Y'all read his replies. Did he know what he was talking about? Last question. Kimberton 31. Do you use Roots Organic Terp tea? And if so, do you use a dry amendment or brew as a tea on organic soils? Do you keep the top moist or let it dry out? I haven't never used it. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I wanted to use it, and I would have used it as a dry amendment. They do say you can use it as a brew. I had stopped using brews by that time. If I was still doing both, if I wasn't using recharge, I would definitely use it as a brew and the dry amendment. And whenever I needed a brew, I put a bunch of stuff in there. Like, everything got thrown into the brew, and it got brewed for 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours, and it definitely would have got added into that mixture. But I never tried it because we ended up going down to earth. And it is best to keep the topsoil moist, but it is also hard not to overwater your plants doing so. So I kind of stay in between. I let it dry, but as soon as it gets dry, it gets watered. Like, because it does need to stay moist to have the best outcome or the best results with the dry amendments. But at the same time, I religiously like to let my plants dry out all the way before I water them because I have a problem overwatering. So as soon as they get dry, I check my plants every day. The day they dry, they get hit with water. It is best to keep it moist, no doubt. Appreciate y'all for joining me once again, man. It's your boy, Mr. GoodBuds. Make sure y'all like this video. Y'all comment down below. And most importantly, drop y'all questions in the Discord Q&A. And do not answer them second, most importantly. Appreciate y'all for joining me once again, dog. And I think that's about it, man. Make sure y'all, this ain't the discussion, but make sure y'all go holler at me on all y'all podcast platforms as well. And the gram, man. Appreciate y'all, man. We out.